I'm Georgette, and welcome to our show. Now, the purpose of this show is basically to say to you guys, look, we're in the middle of the Great Recession. We need to demystify the foolishness. We need to educate you as to what are your options. Now, we're all entitled to some kind of fresh start. We're all entitled to some kind of better financial future. But when you know better, you do better. So we're here trying to educate you as to what are your options, how do you go about them, and how do you have a better financial future. The topic today is basically bankruptcy. Yes, we're going into the big B word. Now, a lot of companies on all fronts have made bankruptcy this really scary thing. They've done a really good marketing job to scare individuals from filing bankruptcy. In some instances, I read in the New York Times recently, they've even made it difficult for small business owners to file bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is a right. I'll repeat that. Bankruptcy is a right. It's not a gift. Bankruptcy is so that you, the individual, you, the small business owner, you, whoever, is able to have a fresh start. That's what it is, a fresh start under the law. So, and it goes back to biblical times. We'll go into that at some point. What it is, it says, listen, the days of debtor's jail are over. The days of Oliver Twist is behind us. No one goes to debtor's jail now because of their debt. If you find yourself in a really hard financial situation, the bankruptcy code is an ability for you to restructure your secured debts, shed some unsecured debts, and move on to a better financial future. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of what is a bankruptcy. Now, guys, this is something I'm truly passionate about because I'm a bankruptcy practitioner. That's what I do in my day-to-day life. Bankruptcy is merely a business tool. It's not a moral stain. It's not a moral abhorrence. It's a business tool, and that's all it is. Now, let me read something to you. There were 133,000 U.S. bankruptcy petitions filed in May 2011, 10% more than the year before. Why? Listen, we're in the Great Recession. Many of you out there have lost your jobs, have had your money has gone funny somehow. And people who know that the bankruptcy code is an option for them to get back on their feet. That's how I need you guys to understand this. Bankruptcy is merely a tool, a crutch, a shovel, whatever you want to call it. It's a tool to get you back on your feet, back onto a better financial future, a fresh start under the law. Now let's get into the difference between a Chapter 7 and a Chapter 13, because generally for individuals, that's the chapters you're going to file under. There's several chapters in the bankruptcy code. You have an 11, which is basically for companies, 12 for farmers, and various other esocentric, various other chapters under the code. But for our purposes, let's just discuss a 7 and a 13. A Chapter 7 is basically a straight bankruptcy. It's the easier of the two. In a Chapter 7, you basically walk into bankruptcy court, you say, I make X amount of dollars, I have Y amount of debt, my debt is more than how much I'm bringing in, I meet the legal requirements, your debts are discharged. A 13 is where you put together a plan. You're behind on your mortgage, you're behind on your car note, you're behind on a secured debt. And you say to the bankruptcy court, listen, I need some help with my mortgage. I need some help with my car loans. And the bankruptcy court will allow you to propose a plan for 5 years that allows you to catch up on the mortgage and allows you to catch up on the car note. But it still gets rid of some or all of your unsecured debts, the credit card debts. That's the difference between a 7 and a 13. One is more immediate. The other could be 3 to 5 years. The major requirements for filing bankruptcy is how much you earn and whether or not the debt that you incurred was committed fraudulently. Now, fraud is easy. You can't just run up your credit cards and then run to bankruptcy court a couple days later and try to get that discharged. That would be fraud. However, how much you earn is important, and there's something called a means test. It's basically a calculation put down by the federal courts that says if you make over X amount of money, you're going to have to pay something back. But as long as you make below that same X amount of money, you're entitled to a Chapter 7 discharge. Now the process. Bankruptcy is in federal court, and I know it feels like a very scary thing. But if you work with a really good bankruptcy practitioner, it's as simple as you taking a course online, going to bankruptcy court, having answered a few questions under oath and answering them honestly, and basically getting up and leaving and having your discharge order from the judge 60 days later. It is that simple. It's a tool. It's a tool for you. All right, guys, we're going to talk about the moral shame and the moral stain associated with bankruptcy. Now, I know this. I can feel it from here. So many of you have been told, have been preached to, like bankruptcy is the worst thing in the world that you could do. You're on the brink of a financial Armageddon, but bankruptcy is the last option, or not even an option at all. I'm here to tell you that bankruptcy is not just for GM. It's for everybody. It's for you who are sitting out there. It's for your friend. Bankruptcy is a right. It's not a gift. Now, I know the fear is centered around the fact that you've been told or you've read on the internet. The internet is a beautiful thing, but there's sometimes it scares even the living you-know-what out of me. You've been told that if you file bankruptcy, you're going to lose your house, you're going to lose your car, you're going to lose your savings, you're going to lose your retirement, you're going to lose everything. That's not true. Bankruptcy is a fresh start under the law. Bankruptcy doesn't say that you should be left desolate. I've had hundreds of clients that filed bankruptcy and they could afford their home, so they kept it. They could afford making their car payments, so they kept it. What they couldn't afford to do was keep up with the credit card bills and the lines of credit bills and the payday loans and all that, along with keeping up with their mortgage and their car payments. Bankruptcy says, okay, you've met the income threshold, you can't afford to keep your car, you can't afford to keep your house, but you can't pay the credit card bills, so we're going to get rid of everything else. Guys, see bankruptcy for what it is, a business tool, a right, and an option for you. We'll be right back with questions from our audience. The Georgia and Miller Show will talk about the difference between rich and creating wealth. I find that within the Black and brown community, we're really caught up with being rich. You know, we see it on the TV. We have this whole society that glamorizes and tells you or pushes you or tells you you must have that $1,400 Louis Vuitton pocketbook because you need to be rich. There's no one or nothing within our society today, especially in the minority community, that really sits people down and tell them, listen, we need to create wealth. And these are the steps that you have to take in order to create wealth. And you're not just creating wealth just to create wealth. Your life will be richer. The lives of your children will be richer. You are creating wealth for generations. You're making, it's not a matter of making an impact today and that's the end of it. Is you're making your whole life and the life of your family and the business enterprise that is your family better. And creating wealth is not that difficult. I mean, it really isn't that hard. I'm not talking about going on Wall Street or getting a financial advisor to help you to pick stocks. I mean, people hear Wall Street, they only think about the stock exchange and the fact that it crashes every 10 years. But that's a good fact. You know that this is going to happen every 10 years. I'm talking about someone of humble means. And for me, it could be $25,000 a year. I met an elderly gentleman once, or in the last, I want to say 2-3 months. This gentleman was a dishwasher, a line cook, never made more than $35,000 a year. When he lived in the projects, raised 6 daughters, had a wife who stayed home and raised the children on this salary. When his daughter came to me, and when he died, his daughter came to me about 3 months ago. When he died, he had close to $80,000 cash in the bank. He also had his life insurance in place. He had his suit pulled out. It was a hysterical story. He had pulled out the suit he wanted to be buried with. It had $5,000 stuffed in there. But he, out of this meager means, was able to save $80,000, not even participating in DRIPs, 529s, IRA, just every week or every month putting money away so that when he died, he had amassed this sum. Plus, had his insurance in place, had all the things that were in place so that when he was no longer here, his kids by this point were grown, but they still had something. Nobody was passing around a hat to bury him. His wife didn't have any undue stress. He had prepared on this meager means to amass, in my mind, what seems like a great sum. What I need you guys to understand is, you don't need to be Donald Trump. You don't need to be the kids of the Rockefellers. You don't need to have to come from great wealth to create wealth, to create a life for your children, to create a life for your grandchildren. You can do it starting with what you have today. Welcome back. Now here in this section, we like to answer questions. And the first question I have is from Jeff on Facebook. And his question is, will my student loans be alleviated if I file bankruptcy? Unfortunately, I call student loans the original gangsters. No, they will not be alleviated. However, if you're in a situation where you have student loan debts, credit card debts, and all these other debts, what you can do is go in, have the other debts discharged, and then whatever income you have, focus in on paying off those student loans because they're not going anywhere. Also, it's a teaching moment for you. And the teaching moment is this. If you have kids today, start saving for their education now so that they will not be in the same situation you're in. Again, student loans will not go away. So save for your baby today so that he doesn't have the same situation you have right now.
Hey, Georgette. I'm afraid to file for bankruptcy because I don't want people to judge me. What should I do?
Melanie, let me tell you this. This is a question I get all the time. There is no shame in bankruptcy. There really isn't. Your friends shouldn't be judging you because you know what? You're going to be debt-free. You're going to have a fresh start. And you will be able to pick up your phone. You'll be able to look outside your window and know that your car is there. You'll know that nobody will be coming into your bank accounts and levying it. You will have a better peace of mind after filing. Also, you will be able to do the thing that I want you all to do. You'll be able to save from this point forward. So don't listen to your friends. Don't feel any judgment. You are just like GM, exercising your right to move on and have a fresh start and have a better financial future. Okay, this is the section of the show we like to call Demystifying the Foolishness. And here we're talking about bankruptcy and the fact that all it is a business tool. There's no moral stain. I know you've been told your whole life it's the worst thing you can do, but stay with me for a moment. You can't pick up your phone because creditors are calling you, and they're calling you on your cell phone, your home phone, and your job. You can't put money in your accounts because you're afraid of it being levied. You can't look out your window. You keep looking out your window every night to make sure your car is there because you're afraid of it being repoed. You can't buy your medication. You can't buy food. You have all the stress on your back day after day. And bankruptcy is sitting out there just saying, hello, you have the right to come into bankruptcy court and have this entire stress, this albatross on your back removed. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to wake up and answer your phone because you know that only your friends are calling you? Why wouldn't you want to have the ability to use your checking account because you know that only you can go into that account and take that money? Why would you not want to have people no longer have the ability to harass you? That's what the bankruptcy code is. It's called a fresh start under the law. And this fresh start is available to you as a right. It's not just for GM. It's not just for huge companies. It's not just for Kmart. It's your right. Exercise your right under the law and have your fresh start, your new financial future today. Seek out your closest bankruptcy practitioner. All right, guys, in this show, we talked about bankruptcy. We talked about the process. We talked about the requirements. We talked about the difference between a 7 and a 13. And bankruptcy is merely a business tool. I'm here telling you the truth. All it is a business tool. Look, I'm a bankruptcy practitioner. I have helped hundreds of people file bankruptcy. I've taken them from the beginning of the process to the end. I'm looking back at them now, a year later, 6 months later, a month later, and watching how bankruptcy has helped their lives changed in a real and substantial way. Now I watch people and their families being released. It's almost, yes, released from all this debt. Guys, bankruptcy is a business tool. When you know better, you do better. And I'll see you all next week.